PSD EdTech Coaches Podcast Season 2, Episode 8. Welcome 2021. What we are looking forward to in the new year, resolutions. We'll talk it over with EdTech coaches Melissa Shields and Jeri Sloane. Welcome to the PSD EdTech Coaches Podcast, a podcast for educators by educators that love to equip teachers, ponder, and discuss current issues and climate in education. With your hosts, Dan Hopman and Steve Stuckey. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. Thank you for sitting in with us as we ponder and discuss today.
How you guys doing? We are in a new year. Happy New Year to all of you. I was hoping that 2021 would have started out as optimistically as I was hoping, but it seems we are on the same downward spiral as the start or as 2021 started as we were in 2020.
Come on, I thought I was the guy who was the Debbie Downer. You're always the positive one.
There is positivity in this, though. Let me tell you. Even though it seems like we're in this downward spiral, you know, I'm hoping and I'm praying that this start to 2021 turns around real quickly. There's a lot in the air right now, up in the air right now in education. And, I've been asking questions, will LPAC or state testing be taking place, or will students return this year? When they do return, what's that going to look like? Will I be ready to have students in front of me? Remember, a wise person always thinks ahead. Practice those things now that you would like to do eventually face-to-face. These are all things that'll help you out. Have you tried an EduProtocol with your class? What about a Flipgrid? Have you had your kids work on a Jamboard? We've been saying for quite a while, now is the time to try. Engage those students and help them develop student agency. There's no time better than the present. As the great basketball coach John Wooden said, if we fail to adapt, we fail to move forward. I think it's time for us all to move forward and not fall back to where we were before all this all started.
You know, it's funny you say that and you started using famous quotes. And of course, I've written down some famous quotes that I'm going to bring up. Well, maybe they're not so famous, but maybe they will speak to you some way, somehow. And I'm not going to say Happy New Year, just New Year. Or maybe I'll just say the same as last year. I don't know. On a positive note, because I'm going to try. The one thing I'm sure of is that change happens. 2021 brings us a change in administration, hopefully a vaccine very soon, a hope to get back to school. I'm hoping for positive change. But if we are afraid of change, and many people are, it's one of the biggest things that they're afraid of, things are going to continue to be difficult. Change, if we embrace it, takes time, it takes effort. It's not about excuses. It's not excuses of not having time. There are those that embrace change and those that let changes just roll over them as they try hard to avoid them. George Bernard Shaw said, there's my quote, Dan, those who cannot change their minds cannot change anything. And the also famous John Maxwell says, the change is inevitable, but growth is optional. And so you know what? Things are going to change in 2021. Are you going to move backwards in the way things used to be? Or are you going to continue to grow and become better? Embrace the change and be an agent of change. On another note, it's been said, since we keep on quoting things today, why not? It's been said that the most important thing in communication is to hear what isn't being said. And I read that and I go, you know what? That quote doesn't work well for me at all. I like to say what you mean what you say. I mean, that's worked great in my marriage so far. There's no reading between the lines, trying to interpret what other people are feeling or what they're thinking or what I should infer just from the look in your face, what you want me to do. It is say what you mean what you say. And with that in mind, I'd love to hear more frequent updates directly to us, the educators in the district, regarding progress in and within my district's role in vaccines, hopes for restarting, what are exact plans? Is there a timeline? Is there a plan for the teachers in the district? Even if you are unsure, at least say, here's a list of the things that we're looking forward to. That gives everybody a little bit of hope. You know, I don't know right now whether or not the plan for our district is to get vaccines in the district, or do I have to go to a vaccine super center? Do I have to go to my personal physician? I don't know. Communication that is not being said cannot be heard. We should not infer things. We need to say what we mean and mean what we say, so we don't misinterpret anything and come up with our own conclusions based on nothing. And, you know, as Dan, you said earlier, there's surely a lot of things up in the air in education right now. But, well, above all those things, we need that list and we need them commented on. Give us some updates. It affects everyone in our communities, especially students and parents. I'm only hearing, and hearing is probably not the correct term, so I'll say it this way, but I'm hearing a lot of radio silence. That's, you know, the contradiction right there, right? Because you can't hear something that's silent. And I don't want to interpret it incorrectly. If others are feeling the same way I am, I hope I'm, you know, well, let me put it this way. If you're not feeling the same way I am, I'm speaking for those who are. But basically, I'm over this. That's probably where my mindset is today. Students, I know, are struggling. Not all, many, most are struggling with this. Teachers are actually leaving the profession. Countless teachers just in this district alone have retired or left for something else. Parents are frustrated. And what this has all become, not only for me and maybe for our guests here today and you and other teachers, everybody, it's become a big, giant mental endurance test, because we're really not physically enduring unless, you know, sitting around is a physical endurance. Teachers are some of the best people in the world, by the way, of enduring things. They do it great. They load things up on their plate and push forward, and it's not always in their best health interests either. They put up with quite a bit to try to make a difference with students. So, you know, I was going to make a resolution to look at everything much more on a much more positive note this year. But, you know, it has been said, and I researched this a little bit, it takes 21 days to create a habit. Well, as of this recording, we're 21 days in, and guess what? I didn't keep my resolution. So my new resolution, I'm going to make a new one right now, is that for the rest of my life, I am making no more resolutions. That's it.
21 days in 2021. You know,
I failed again.
And you know, and we've said this over and over, you know, when it comes to our teachers and trying this whole thing out, failing's okay. It's just how you rebound from that fail. You know, don't give up. And we have seen some teachers give up. We have seen students giving up. We've seen families give up. It's sort of like the Great American, was it the Amazing Race, the game show that's on TV? All these different challenges that teachers keep getting pushed into, and for the most part keep rising to it, and keep rising to it. But at some point, the Amazing Race is over. That's what I want to see. I want to know when do we start seeing that this amazing race is over, and that we can declare that education has won and we're back facing.
Because I'm not being positive today, I can't even believe you're using it as the word amazing race.
Amazing, the amazing. You know what? It is an amazement.
The dismazing race.
Well, you know, you've been in education a long time. I can now say that as well. Would you have ever thought before 2020 that anything like this would ever happen? ever.
I used to think during a whole school year, and by the way, those who don't teach don't really understand that teachers, hook up the plow and go from August until June, and they go strong, and some of them can't even put down the plow during the summertime. And people always go, well, you got the summer off. You don't understand. It is endure, push, 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 push. And sometimes it's pushing things that are just always being thrown in front of us that we have no say so. But, and I thought that was tiring. And now, tiring as it was, there was always people to be with, kids to be with. It was great in that regards. But going through this is just, it's getting disheartening at times.
It really is. And I know for me, I have a wife, I've got 2 young kids, and it used to be where I could go to work and I could share, the common feelings that we were all having between teachers and admin. We had that rapport. It's really hard to do that over Zoom. I feel like I'm telling a TV how I feel.
Well, so I'll bring in our guests, Jeri, Sloane, and Melissa Shields. You can welcome, guys. How you doing?
Hello, ladies.
Hi.
So you probably understand this too, is that with your spouses at home, and that you're at home and you're dealing with some of the things that you're dealing with. You're not coming home with those great stories. It's like, I can't believe this today. And it's got to be harder because we're not really, maybe you are. Maybe you're being really positive with everybody around you. If so, God bless you.
Well, Steve, like you were mentioning how you wanted to start the year off on positivity and kind of felt on that note. I have been also feeling kind of inundated and drained out from everything that's going on in the world, things that are going on in my own family, and just feeling exhausted. And so last night, after I'd heard something that I won't share what it is, but I heard something that just made me go, you have got to be kidding me. I said, okay, nope. That said, nope. I'm only going to surround myself with positivity from now on. So if you find yourself blocked from me on Facebook, Steve, you might know why, but no, you don't usually post anything on Facebook, but no, I just said, you know what? I no matter how much I love people, if they're going to need to be negative around me, I don't have any room in my life for that. I gave a training this week on digital well-being. I was reading articles on creating that margin in your life and giving yourself this room to breathe and to make adjustments. You talk about change and making adjustments and being flexible in that nature. And if you're crowding out those margins with negativity, it just becomes rigid. I'm thinking of, okay, maybe it's because I'm a science teacher, but what came to my head was, you talk about like arteries hardening and the cholesterol getting in there and hardening those arteries and giving it less room for that life-giving blood to flow through. I think that's what it was feeling like was happening, is those arteries were hardening and the life-giving blood was just not going through. I said, nope, clean it out, roto-rooter it out, and just breathe and start focusing and doing positive stuff.
You brought up social media, and it's hard because this is an audio podcast and I can't show you the picture. But one of the best things, I saw 2 things on social media that really speak about kind of what we're talking about. One was that social media doesn't always show both sides of the story. And there was a picture of a mirror with an apple reflected in it. But on the other side of the apple was a big bite taken out. And you can't see the side with the bite taken out. You don't always hear both sides of a story. People just keep resounding within their own little tribe and circles and say what other people want to hear. And it grates on you after a while. And the other one was, and this was probably the most beneficial meme I've seen on there, it's not whether or not the glass is half empty or half full. It's you still have half a bottle. And it was a picture of a wine bottle.
That's an interesting way to look at things. That's an interesting way to look at things. There's a movie quote that Steve and I always used to joke around when we talk about good and bad. Let in the good, block the bad. Let in the good, block the bad.
Oh my gosh, that's an Adam Sandler.
It is reference right there. That's right. Whoever thought we'd do that in an educational podcast. But you know, I find myself doing that more and more now that, you know, I'm usually pretty tolerant with people, and I'm not one, and you guys know me, I'm not one to overtly go to someone and say, okay, I'm done with you, or I need you away. But I found myself being more protected with some of this bad stuff. And when I say bad stuff, I'm not talking about, you know, anything specific. I'm just in general. It just seems like, you know, what used to be good and what used to be, you know, off a duck's back now has become a lot more personable or personal. And I don't know if it's because we've lost that interaction with each other, that we don't get to see the face and the mouth who's saying these things, and we're putting our feelings behind the text, or if we are, you know, really putting our feelings behind what someone else is saying. But I find myself blocking the bad out a lot more than I used to.
Yeah, it almost feels like we're a little more tender than we used to be, because we do have so much of an onslaught that's happening all at once, too. I mean, we're used to having problems and issues in the world, especially as teachers. We endure, we persevere. But now it just all comes at once, personally and professionally. And you guys have some great analogies. It reminds me of my mom, who grew up on a Native American reservation with no electricity, and her father died at a young age, and she went through a lot. But she'd always say, you know, I'm going to feel sorry for myself for a couple of days or however long. And then I'm just going to, you know, change what I can and ignore what I don't have the ability to change. And she was a great influence, because, you know, we're being dragged through these things, and we might as well, you know, reflect on what it is that's going to make us happy and what it is that we can do. Because focusing on what we can't do is really not helping, or those people who seem to be circling the drain with their attitudes, right?
What will make us happy? Well, they say money doesn't buy happiness, but you know, that lottery ticket tonight at almost $1 billion, I venture to say that it will make me happy for a time. So
3 months.
For a time.
It's good to dream. If we don't hope and dream, then it really does kind of weigh down more. You know, having something to look towards, looking forward to. And that's kind of what I was saying in the beginning, is just if some communication would come out that says, here's the hopes, right? Here's what we hope to happen, and here's a plan of when it does happen, how we're going to do it, maybe.
Well, it's a good point that you make, Steve, and it reminds me of transparency and that communication, you know, the decision-making, the thinking, what's the big picture. Nobody has an answer. Teachers right now are on the forefront. Teachers are the pioneers, and the administrators are really sitting in the back and have, you know, no idea what the soldiers are putting up with. But if we have some transparency and some ideas about the big picture that we can agree on, those common, you know, thoughts and goals, it would make the frontline teachers' lives a little easier if they knew, you know, what the end result could be or might be, or what the goals of the war are.
What you're fighting for.
What you're fighting for.
Right.
Exactly.
But like you said, Steve, it's about looking forward. So why don't we take a look at maybe not necessarily resolutions, but maybe some goals to achieve in 2021. That's our goal of our podcast today is, what can we look forward to in 2021?
So did you guys make any resolutions?
I personally don't tend to make resolutions, kind of like you, but I do tend to do goal setting. And I try to do it year round. Of course, the beginning of the year is a great time to remind yourself to do it, because you should always be trying to be better. You should always be trying to improve. But I certainly need to let someone finish a sentence. So I'm working on that, you know, and not trying to multitask. Okay.
Is your husband sitting there right next to you?
No, but yeah, he would totally relate to that. And even teachers I work with, I love the teachers I work with. I love the relationships and like a professional friendship, but I tend to want to finish what they're going to say. Oh yeah, I know what you're going to say. Let me tell you what to do. No, I don't know what everyone's going to say. And hearkening back to my mom, you know, walk in their moccasins and, you know, let them express their point of view first. And even you would say that, Steve, listen to understand, not don't listen to respond. So that's something I really need to work on. But I think the problem I've had through the years is I haven't paired it with the don't multitask. So I spent so many years as a teacher trying to learn how to multitask, right? When is PE, or, what do I need to finish before the end of the period, or what do I need to collect? Or do they put the name on the paper? Whatever it is that you're doing.
Point to those kids, get those kids paying attention, get those kids gone to work while you're teaching these kids this lesson. I get it. Teachers are the great teachers can do it.
What's the formative, and you're collecting data, you're doing all these things at once. But here's an opportunity. I'm going to be positive for a minute, that we have to really focus on one thing at a time and understand. It reminds me of those lesson walks we used to walk through and watch a lesson being taught by a colleague and try to see what the kids are doing and what they're learning. And I never took the time for, well, I don't say never. I didn't take the time for that as much as a teacher as I expected. But now, don't multitask and pay attention to what the kids are learning. What are they getting from your lesson? Get some feedback from them. Are they understanding it? Just because you're putting it out there doesn't mean it's making sense to them, because they're people. They're not data. They're not just a room full of people you have to keep from killing each other or get them to recess on time or whatever it is. They're actually people with goals of their own. And it's so easy. We always say we're going to pay attention to that, but we don't always listen to them. And we don't always stop multitasking to them. Anyway,
and part of that might be because in education, there is just so much stuff on every educator's plate, every administrator's plate, that gets handed down and piles up. And that does affect what's going on. You're right. If we can do one thing and do one thing well, right, everyone benefits. And
it reminds me what you said too. People don't understand teachers, oh, you get the summer off. But I keep trying to tell people who aren't teachers, they don't get it, how complex the job is. Right. So now we're complicating it still. Admin, let's do testing. Let's do the STAR test. Let's do LPMs and all that. But really, is this what we need to help our kids? Is all that complicatedness? I don't think that's a word.
It is now.
And I read somewhere where teachers make more decisions on individuals, or maybe just individual decisions, than a brain surgeon does while they're doing brain surgery, because of all the different variables that they're dealing with in the classroom versus the surgery that they're doing on the brain, which I think is just a crazy idea.
Therefore, we should be paid like brain surgeons or CEOs.
Exactly. Melissa, what about you? Have you made any resolutions or goals?
Not really resolutions, but there's some things that I've been looking forward to as far as for this year, especially since I decided to be, one of them is what I mentioned before about just making sure I surround myself with more positivity.
Are you
I
sure?
did notice I'm sorry?
So are you sure? Are you positive?
Positive.
Positively sure.
I'm positive. Abso-positively.
That was a really bad dad joke.
Dad jokes. Yeah. Grandpa joke. Sorry.
Yep, that too.
Grandpa joke. There you go. So surrounding myself with a bit more positivity, which might mean reducing the negativity around me, including the negativity that exists inside of me, my own negative. Jeri and I have had this conversation before with the whole negativity, imposter syndrome stuff that goes on. And I've noticed lately I'm somehow surrounding myself with a lot more whether it be through social media, Twitter, Instagram, or whatever. I'm doing a lot of reading, and I'm seeing a lot of people who are embarking on these passion projects. And I kept thinking, I don't really have a passion project, but I love my job. And so I've been thinking, since I think we talked yesterday, Steve, that I am passionate about my job and supporting teachers. And so kind of my goal, I think, for this year would be to find a way to get myself into classrooms more. I mean, I know they're virtual, but get myself into classrooms. I miss the kids. like crazy. They're not even my kids, and I miss the kids. Well, they are my kids, I guess. I don't know.
They're all our kids.
They're all our
They're
kids.
all
Yeah.
our kids. They are. I mean, and I miss them, and I feel proud. I can visit a classroom, and I feel so proud when I see a kid do something. I didn't birth that child. I didn't teach that child, but I'm so proud of them. So, so I want to get into classrooms more and support teachers, and I think that's where that is. Like I said, that is my passion. Is I want to become a better coach. So, I'm going through a coaching curriculum right now, and I'm working with some teachers and, asking them for the feedback. And I'm really kind of delving into spending some time and looking at pedagogy and how to best support teachers and help them take risks. And, the better I can serve them, then the happier I am.
So teachers,
it's just,
and I'm going to speak for all of us, send us the links to your Zoom meetings. Invite us in. Let us be a fly on the wall. Maybe we can see something that could help engage students more. I know that we're going to hear from some teachers in a second, and one of them wants to know how to engage students more. Well, we can't tell you unless we see what's happening in the classroom as well. So yeah, send us a link to your Zoom. Send us a schedule so that we can hop around, because I know at the beginning of this pandemic, we were busier, I think, than I've ever been in my lifetime in dealing with all of this, educational, instructional, ed tech stuff. But now, teachers are either set in their ways again, what they know and are comfortable with, and only call upon when they are stuck. Well, I want to keep pushing forward, right? So invite us in. Let us see what's going on, because we're not as busy now as we were in the craziness at the beginning of pandemic, in the beginning of the school year. There was no rest. It was, long days.
And we're collect ideas too on tips and tricks from the nation, because we're putting our ear out to the community of teachers worldwide, actually, and getting ideas that you don't maybe have time to collect that we can share with you.
Just got to be willing to change, right? Just got to be willing to change.
Yeah, I was just going to say that I'm glad that you put out there about having, people invite us in, because you mentioned a concern about how people are taking strides and they're doing some things they haven't done before with collaboration, because they've been forced to, right? They've been forced to do some collaborative activities. Teachers have been forced to get creative and try new things and step out of their comfort zones. But I do fear that teachers will fall back to what they've always done. And my fear was kind of realized a little bit when I heard I talked with a teacher yesterday or something, and they said, well, I've been having this problem for a while, and, I was just suffering through it. And I thought, well, why didn't you call me? Why didn't you send me an email? And I could have, you didn't have to be struggling through this for 2 weeks. I could have been right there, helped you right away, and, or been there as a support and a co-planner or a co-collaborator. And,
as coaches, that's what we want to do. As coaches, we want to step up alongside you, not in front of you, behind you, but along with you, and help you through some of those things, show you some things that might help your pedagogy, engage kids more, make lessons more effective, especially while we're using all this ed tech.
And teachers do that. Like you said, they endure, they suffer through. I remember I suffered and I suffered and I suffered. And one day you go, wait, why do I keep suffering all the time? So yeah, stop, be perseverant, but stop enduring.
Well, I think that's also a lot of, as a teacher, we're used to having to endure. We're used to having to persevere on our own. And, we talk about our district being a PLC district and going through the PLC model. And that PLC model says you need to rely on each other, whether it's your grade level, whether it's your school, whether it's a district coach. And I think that's the part that might be missing. And people, 15 years ago when I first came in the district and we talked about coaches, it wasn't a good thing when coaches would come and be in your classroom. It means you would probably put on an improvement plan of some kind, or something like that. It's different now. We are not here to change what you do. We want to push you on with some good pedagogy that are scientifically proven to work, with good activities for your students. and go out and really engage those students.
If it was easy, everybody would do it, right?
Right?
Exactly.
Here's a positive thing in the world of looking ahead to 2021 is that we knew education was going to change. We knew our world was going to change. We saw it coming, and technology and kids learn differently than they used to. But we've suddenly now been forced into change very quickly and suddenly, where we knew it was coming. So we almost have to lean into it. We have to change the way we teach. It was going to happen inevitably, but now it's happened all at once. And let's learn how to do that and be flexible.
Well, that's hard for a lot of people, though. A lot of people who find it easy in the ways that they've always done it, even if it's not effective or engaging, will continue on to something that they're comfortable with rather than embrace that change, because cognitively, emotionally, it takes a toll. Just a thought.
So, no, I completely agree with you. And Jeri mentioned about, moving forward with education. What other things do we think we can hopefully be seeing in the near future with education? That can go for either one of you.
Oh, yeah. Well, in the sense too that, say, you're on the forefront as a teacher, and you could say, well, this is the way we've always done it. My admin says to do it this way. Nobody knows. No one in the world knows how this works right now, because nobody in the world has taught 100% online public school. Now, maybe there's been, an online school somewhere where people agree and sign up, but this is a whole different animal. And really, I think that whole idea of letting kids create, because when kids see your lesson, like, who cares? Why should I do this? What does it mean for me? And when they're sitting in the classroom, they had to finish it before they went out to recess. But now they don't even have that.
They just log off and say, see you later.
Yeah.
Or turn off their camera.
Exactly. Grades are not an issue. They know it's not an issue. They're not even an issue to get into college now. So how are we going to go into their hearts and motivate them to be learners? How are we going to capture them for education and learning? They could just play video games all day long for the rest of their life. Right now, that's what it looks like. So we have to think like a kid, getting their perspective. And that creation, letting kids choose, letting them create, letting them feel power and agency. As you guys mentioned that word agency or empowerment, why does anyone vote? We had more voters this year than ever before. Why? Maybe we can harness that. We're going to have to innovate. And we're going to have to innovate this pandemic, this virus. Virologists have been expecting this. Here it is. And now with the new mutations, who's going to come up with these new vaccines? Our young people are going to in the future, because it will happen again. And I don't mean to be negative, but we'll have kids that thought of new ideas on how to deal with these new. It won't be Ebola, maybe. It won't be coronavirus, maybe. It'll be an influenza. But our world is changing between climate change and all this. It's going to change. So we need to have kids who can handle that. We need the really big picture from our education system. So I don't know if that's specific enough, but
well, it's all of that things need to innovate and change. And again, because I don't want to sound negative, but I didn't make a resolution to stay positive. Teachers are heroes. They really are, for what they're doing in public education, especially like in states like California, where we are all locked in to the basement trying to teach a group of children. And there's varying degrees of success with that. There's as many degrees of success as there are students and teachers in education today of what's happening online. But the pandemic then, I believe, has also highlighted or actually exposed some cracks in the system that will need to be addressed when people come back, when kids are back in the classroom.
And I have to throw in there real quick too, that I've heard from some teachers and some special ed teachers, that there's some students they have that have blossomed in this environment. And we shouldn't forget that, because we talk a lot about the failures of education right now. But we've had some kids who have just loved this, and they've come alive in this online environment. Throwing it out there.
Thanks, Jeri, for being a positive light on this whole thing. So in words of us staying positive, Melissa, you did a PD this week, and I know you even sent me a text that a couple of teachers want me to follow up on what you taught. Now, I wasn't there, and I would probably need to look at your presentation, but can you give us some quick pointers maybe that you could share about taking care of ourselves? It was digitally taking care of ourselves, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was on digital well-being, and well, the long and the short of it is I did not create the PD. I borrowed from the ultimate sharer, Eric Kurtz, and went to his website, Control-Alt-Achieve, and he had this whole thing on
Free plug
on digital well-being and looking at reducing the negativity and then also increasing the positivity using technology. And I even went there in the first place because I attended one of the many virtual conferences that I've been to. And I learned things that I was like, what? My phone has that? My phone does that automatically? It's a natural part of my phone.
Can you get rid of the poop emojis and the sad face emojis?
It was not about getting rid of poop emojis and sad face emojis, but what it was doing was it helped me realize in doing in going to the training and then sharing with teachers. And one thing they realize is there's things that are already on your phone, not an app you have to download, already existing on your phone, both Android and iOS, that let you know how many times a day you pick up your phone, or how many times a day you unlock it, or how much time you spend on an app. And so, for example, the negativity, I noticed my Facebook feed is just with all the negative stuff just raining down on me, and I get mad and I get cranky, and then next thing I know, I'm trying to multitask, like Jeri mentions, and maybe I'm watching TV. I'm also scrolling through my phone, looking at the negative stuff on Facebook, and it'll tell you how much time you spend in that. You can on both on different phone apps. You can, the settings. On my phone, I think it's actually called Digital Wellbeing. On iOS, it's called Screen Time. And they have the features like downtime. They have features like, I think it's called app management or something, where you can set timers. And if you find that you're on Facebook 6 hours a day, you can set a timer, shut off Facebook after you decide the time, an hour, 2 hours. And the next time you go to open it up and you're past your time limit, it grays the whole app out. You can't use it again. Now, could you go back in, change your settings so that you have 3 hours instead of 2 hours? Yes, you can.
Of course, because I can't let anybody tell me what I can and can't do.
But you're
especially
the one setting the time in the first
myself. Yeah, I don't want someone to tell me how many times I've picked up my phone. And for some people, it might be tell them how many times they actually put it down. That's probably one thing too. But
you only put it down 3 times. Oh no. But no, I found it helpful for myself because I have a thing called wind down time on my phone. So I think it's the same thing as downtime. It basically says, okay, at 10 o'clock or whatever time I set it for, my whole phone goes grayscale. I can still use all the apps, but do you know how hard it is to crush candies when the pink and the blue and the green and whatever colors they are all look the same color? That's a little bit more difficult. And so you just put it, never mind, I don't want to do it, and it's too much to open up my settings and change it so I can still play. You just put it down. And so it's helped me a lot. And I got really positive feedback from the teachers about so that was the reducing the negative. And then the other thing we were talking about building the positive is, there's some trainings, there's some white noise applications that you can hear, that you can create your own music where you choose sounds and, you get to, you can do mixes, you can do timers, you can do everything, and that was actually quite a lot of fun and gave them time to play with that. So that worked. I thought it went pretty well, and I had a positive feedback on it. So,
well, you all know it only takes one band or music to make me happy, right, guys?
Oh dear,
that's right. Yeah, that's right.
And it is.
Kansas.
There you go. That's a plug for Kansas.
I was so going to say
KansasBand.com.
something like Bee Gees or something. Everybody knows.
Staying alive during a pandemic.
Teletubbies theme song or something.
Barney.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
No, I'd have to kill myself.
So how are you guys staying sane? I know for me, or at least I try to. For me, it's I try to do creative things. Like this weekend, I helped my wife design her laundry room and got it all built out. How are you guys staying sane?
Or you're not.
And
Or you're not?
animals, and then being outside, which we can do here, which is great, unless it's 50-mile-an-hour winds. So
Yeah, if the day's nice, I've been tending to on my lunch break before I eat lunch usually. I tend to go take a walk around my neighborhood, and so it's depending on I go faster if I have a lot of stress built up because I just need to but if just to get out in the oxygen and even if it's a little bit cold, bundle up, just take a walk around the neighborhood and I come back and my brain's a little bit clearer and it helps. I find it helps.
I might have to try those things. I've been teaching now for almost 34 years, and I know that I'm not sane anymore.
Well, that's assuming that you were sane to begin with.
Well, I did become a teacher, so you're right.
Exactly.
But I have to tell you one more thing I do because I like it. And I think I told Jeri this, is that when I go on my walks, and it's literally just around my neighborhood, so it's the outside of, there's just some green belts and stuff like that. I look for treasures. And to me, a treasure is kind of anything that might be out of place or different. Like it could be, there's some junk, sadly there's some junk, but sometimes a sprinkler head that's got stuck in the up position, like in a strange, to me, like that's like a treasure. I'm like, oh, you don't always see a sprinkler head stuck. I'm trying to find joy in all those little tiny things. And I was telling, I don't know if I should say this out loud because I might get in trouble eventually for littering or something, but I told Jeri this, that I went planting treasures one time on a walk because I wanted somebody else to find them. And so I took
My leftover banana peel.
No, not like that. But like I went like imagine, okay, we have a lot of school swag, right? So, or, stuff. So I had taken, I think one time I took maybe a lanyard with me. I took a pen. I took a little statue. I took a little stretchy bracelet. And I kind of set them on places so that if people were walking around, they go, oh, look, what is this? Now, it's a pandemic, so who's going to pick up stuff that's on the ground? But I felt like I was doing a treasure hunt for kids or something. I thought it'd be fun.
But were they there when you went back again? That's the question.
So some of them, one of the treasures I took was those little blingy, bouncy those rubber rings that light up from one of those conventions we went to.
Yeah.
One of them was there forever. I mean, it started to get faded by the sun, but there were some treasures that were gone. And I was so excited. I'm like, oh, yay, look at the treasure that I hid is gone. And then my husband pointed out that, there is a lawn crew that comes in here around once a week and they probably scooped it up.
It's probably, or it's all over the lawn now as it got chopped up. One of my favorite shows is it's The Curse of Oak Island. There's a guy with a metal detector. And I'm thinking, well, maybe Melissa needs a metal detector. You could go find some real treasures.
I love Melissa's idea, but if you're worried about littering in your neighborhood, another idea is, ironically, is podcasts. I love to listen to podcasts while I take walks. So I probably won't listen to this one, but while I take a walk. But seriously.
Gee, thanks, Jeri.
Man.
There are so many, and your guys is a great podcast, but there's so many wonderful podcasts and funny ones that, even like Dax Shepard, and so I love Melissa's idea. It's very creative, but if you don't want to do that, if you want to supplement that, then podcasting while you take a walk is a cool idea.
So I think what we need to do now is that we need to hear what some of the teachers have said about their resolutions, and maybe we can listen to what they say and feel free to comment on it quickly, because I know we're just chatting. We're obviously have not been around people much, and we are just shooting the bull like you wouldn't believe here today. And so hopefully everybody listening in just feels like they're sitting around the same campfire with us and shooting the bull too. You can even talk over us while you're listening. It's fine. But so let's listen to a couple of things that teachers have said. This is Amber Bagley, and here we go.
My 2021 New Year's resolution education goal would be for me to create more breakout rooms in order for my students to continue to build essential skills, especially in the areas that they are currently missing.
So what do you think she means by breakout rooms, guys?
Students talking to each other, collaborating, communicating.
Yeah, I think she's meaning the Zoom breakout rooms and having those opportunities for kids to talk to each other, because they're used to being able, in the classroom, you've got kids who can sit around a table, you can do group projects, they can work together, they can talk to each other and chit chat about other things while they're doing their work. But, remotely, it's a little bit more difficult. So maybe she's trying to encourage that.
Yeah, they learn.
And I would also say that she's got the idea of using those breakout rooms also for small group and being able to really target those students that she's meeting with some skills that they may be lacking. Or trying to promote.
I really think during this time that, your whole class time should be minimal, teach the lesson, and then go work with small groups of kids the rest of the day. I think it's be far more effective. We always talk about, giving a PD to 300 people is never as effective as it is with 5 people, where you can give them time and guidance. So, maybe that's part of the model that needs to be changed. We don't need to spend an hour teaching how to do this mathematical formula. We need to spend 10 minutes doing it and then work with small groups while other people are practicing and doing things like that as well.
It still adds up in your web form as the time. So it's a great point. No one ever said how many kids needed, what.
But I think it might be a great model for when we come back.
Yeah.
All right, so let's hear what Carol Serpico has to say.
Hello. I would like some ideas on how to engage kids and make them want to come to like an after-school 1-hour tutoring session. Okay? Thanks.
Last thing I want to do, by the way, is to go do something online after I've been online all day. When I hang up with you guys today, I'm done.
So true.
I'm shutting it down. I'm going to be positive digital, whatever that is, wellness.
Yeah, his screen time is going to be decreased.
But how would you get?
How would you get what she's trying to do?
How would you get Carol to engage those kids more? What do you suggest to her?
Dan, gamification, right? And some edge protocols thrown in there.
I think that would help. I think also the fact that, and I think teachers are still in that mindset of an hour after school or an hour before school. You guys have time during your office hours where that'd be a great point to bring those kids in as well. It doesn't necessarily have to be after school.
I'll bring up my number one
engagement.
What's my number one product of the year? Flipgrid. Honestly, there's so much you can do with that. What Melissa said earlier, invite us in, right? We can't really tell you how to engage the kids more until we see how you're trying to engage them now.
Very true.
Anything else, guys?
I throw that in there too, is just kids teaching each other can be real powerful. And I know it sounds crazy. I know we always think we have to be the ones that teach them, but what if they taught each other? What if they each had some little group that they had to be in charge of?
They're capable.
Jeri, it's funny that you said that because I remember one time, and I had the middle school kids, and I just thought it was hilarious. Sometimes they hear each other better than they hear us. I don't know if it's the word choice or what, but I told the students something, and they said, I don't understand what to do. And then the child next to them literally said the exact same words. And they're like, oh, okay. And I was like, wait, what? What just happened here?
They needed to hear it twice. That's it. Although, as teachers, I swear I've repeated myself 5,000 times.
Right.
But it takes
and
one
I
from
think that's clear. And it turns out I'm talking either grown-up talk or somebody who lives, on my street talk or whatever, brown-haired lady talk. And I haven't really made the talk that would make sense to the other groups that I'm trying to communicate with. Yeah, kids do a better job sometimes on that.
All right, so Kathleen Cohen tells us this.
Good morning, Miss Cohen here.
Afternoon.
I think that my biggest goal for the 2021 year is to keep my students happy and positive by introducing them to different lessons in their math module book, and also working on their CERN packet and encouraging.
Oh, well, that one just ended. I guess it timed out on us.
I think so too. You can hear her holding up the booklets as she's talking about them. And my question would be is, she talks about wanting to reach her kids students using Zern. How can we do this engagingly would be the question. That would be that she would need to do. Ladies, what about you guys? What do you think?
Well, I particularly like to take the lesson, the concept development that's in the Eureka Math lesson and translate it into something said differently. So, in other words, I like to do my own thing. That doesn't mean you're going away from Eureka or Common Core. You're just making it your own for your kids instead of using their version on a worksheet.
Or take one of those concept problems and turn it into an Edu protocol. And have those kids work through it collaboratively. And then that way it's not necessarily about Zern. It's not necessarily about, Eureka. It's about the math and it's about the problem. It's about the kids being interactive with it.
Right. Take some of those things that are done over and over, the basic skills, the vocabulary, the facts, whatever it is, throw that into a quizzes.
Yeah.
And do the protocol on that so that the kids are working on it on their own. Melissa, you brought up a new product similar to quizzes, which is Blooms, right?
Blookit.
Blookit. Very similar to Kahoot and quizzes. Maybe people want to look at that.
It is, but I don't know if you've played with it, but it's very much a gamification. And the coolest thing about it, and I really haven't spent a ton of time in Blookit, but it's like quizzes in Kahoot in that you have a question set, right? You have a set of questions that the kids can respond to. But the cool bit about it is you can create one question set, but there's like 4 or 5 different actual types of games that will apply to all the different types of games. There's games that are like, I don't know what they're called, like Pokemon cards or so. You know how there's cards where you have like power, like wisdom and charisma, and you do this leveling up like that. There's games that are like I won't say Candy Crush, but like where you have to, it's called Cafe something, and you have to, answer a question right. And if you get a question right, you get a piece of toast. Well, you've got customers who want toast. So then so it's a question, a game, a question, a game, a question, a game. And from what I asked some questions on my Facebook groups and my positive Facebook groups, and they were just like over the moon about Blookit. Even John Carippo, it was talking about, he is just over the moon and how much fun it is and how engaging it is for kids.
He'll have a new Edu protocol for that.
I mean, can you imagine instead of saying, okay, kids, here's your homework, do this homework.
Here's some
how many times do I have to do it,
definitions.
or how long
Write
do
your
I have to do it? They're asking to do it. Hey, do we get to do our thing again? Can I practice my vocabulary on? They want to play the game, but they're still practicing. They're asking to do the work. So,
and then tie in some of those specific parts of like the Edu protocol that if the class then performs on a final quiz, say on Thursday at 90% or better, that they've all got an A for it. It's done. You don't need to take the test on Friday or whatever it is that you used to always do.
Fast and Curious right there. It's funny because I saw John Crippo today on Facebook was showing off this Blookit. I can never say it right. Blookit. Yeah, he was showing it off, and the people on there that are following him are just like, that looks so cool. I can't believe your kids are so engaged. And, it looks like they were having a lot of fun.
Now, these are such great ideas. And if you're somebody that says, well, I'm not sure I'm ready for that level yet. I want to start tiny, but I like your guys' ideas. Try Jamboard is a thought. It's just a cooperative whiteboard. I mean, it can be more, but is a thought. And do what Steve said, let those kids kind of collaborate on something and see what kind of buy-in you get. So I like the protocol ideas. I like the booklet ideas, but Jamboard is another idea of just a way to kind of start small.
All right, so let's keep this thing moving. Mary Feeney has asked.
My resolution is to start using the Elmo for projecting in Zoom. I tried on Monday and it didn't work. Even though I turned it on first, like I was told, it wasn't there. The name of it was not there in my video camera selection on Zoom. So something didn't go right, but I'm not giving up. It's still a goal.
So I think if anything I take from her resolution is that she is going to be persistent. I know Mary. She is persistent. She is always looking forward and trying to have things work for what is going to help her and her kids in her classroom. So I applaud that she's going to be persistent. But Mary,
that's exactly what I took out of that.
Just contact one of us. We'll help you with that.
That's exactly what I took out of it. I'm glad she's keep being persistent.
All right, so we have one more, Roxanne McIntyre, and she brought up
Roxanne.
That's what I said.
One of my goals for school is to offer a little bit more variety in the various platforms, such as using a Jamboard, using Flipgrid, and now Freckles.
So with that, again, the advice, and Jeri said it, start small, is I know the biggest temptation is when you hear about all of these great, cool products out there, you want to try them all because you saw how other people presented it and said, boy, that is awesome. I want to do that. But ask yourself, do we already have something like that in the district already? I know of people who want to purchase certain software products, but we already have other software products that we have licensed that we can use. And we need to learn how to use what we have as well. So take one thing, maybe what we already have, learn it, and then you can add on to it. That's the same concept, Dan, with EduProtocols, isn't it? It's not do 5 protocols. It's do one and do it for a while.
Absolutely. And one of the things that I always suggest with any of the EduProtocols is if it lends itself, do something fun with it first. That way they get used to the protocol. And then the only thing that changes is the content of that protocol. So, start small, start with something fun, get the kids hooked, like do a booklet with, Fast and Curious, or do a thin slides or something, do something fun with it, then bring in the curriculum. That way it doesn't seem as daunting to yourself or the kids, because if the fun one fails, it's not a huge deal. You haven't lost anything.
And why can't we have fun? I know one teacher said the little brothers and sisters were doing all these fun crafts, and his students were wondering why they couldn't do some fun crafts. Why couldn't they? You can put standards in fun crafts. Anyway, I threw that out there because everything doesn't have to be online. They can actually do things, science. They can do crafts and get you pictures of it, or do it live on a Zoom.
Well, yeah, there's pickup days, right? You can put together an art project, throw it in a bag, and put it in their pickup bag when they come in. And those who actually make it and pick up their materials on that day and online, they're going to be able to do a project with you, for example. Yeah.
Teaching those kids digital well-being just by varying activities. Yeah.
And your own well-being.
Sending home recipes.
Yeah.
Ooh,
yeah.
What if you had a virtual cook-off one day, where they bring their recipe and then they actually have to put together a Flipgrid video describing what it is and what it tastes like and why it's important to the family. I don't know. I'm always thinking food, so because I haven't had lunch yet today.
Well, they can share their. I think I've heard that sounding really familiar. Like I've heard somebody they maybe it was for a home ec class that they're doing virtually. I don't know, where they're given the recipe and they have to create it, cook it, and then show not only what it looks like, but have their family members taste test it, and then they have to now improve upon their recipe. You know, maybe they're given the basics of a recipe and the kids have to actually invent the meal. You're going to make cookies. You need flour, but they don't tell them how much. You need sugar, but they don't tell them how much, and let the kids, you know, investigate. Now, I know supplies for that can sometimes be an issue, but I'm just saying, just some creative ideas.
And to what they said, keep in mind that every student has any kind of device, has a camera. They can take pictures or a video and somehow get it to you. So having kids, you know, turn in their work, pictures of what they're doing or what they're discovering is always something that they can,
All right. So I think we're pretty much near the end of this. We've talked it up for quite a while today. I didn't even put the timer on, but we're probably close to an hour. Hopefully listeners have made it this far. But what do you guys have coming up for teachers? I know that for myself on the 28th, we're going to take a look at those benchmark assessments. A lot of teachers have written in questions to the effect of there's assessments, or how do you assign the assessments? How do you grade them? How do you look at the data? That's kind of the stuff that we're going to look at with the benchmark assessments. You guys have anything else coming up?
I have on Tuesday, the 26th, I believe that's what the date is on that day. On that Tuesday is Edu Protocols. We're going to take a look at the Freyer model as well as Sketch and Tell. So if you haven't done any of the Edu Protocols, this is a great place to start because there's not a whole lot that goes into them. It's all in the prep and let the kids fly. So it works out really well.
Less work on your part, more work on their part. It's awesome.
Absolutely.
You guys done for January?
Besides the Jamboard I'm doing today, and I don't remember what's next, but I do hope to have a follow-up like Jamboard Intermediate, kind of a make and take, so that you are collaborating with other teachers and taking away something that you will use. So that'll be a product-driven. I don't have a date for that yet.
All right. So if anybody's listening, I'm developing, and I'm saying it out loud for the first time in my mind, that I'm going to do a Tech Tuesday on some Google tips and tricks within different applications. So how can we use different applications in ways that you haven't thought of yet? Or if you have, maybe you should be teaching the class. So it's just saying. And so maybe we'll pull in some of you as well for part of that time, and we'll do an hour and a half of it's not a throwdown. It's let me show you how to do this, and you go ahead and make something for it. So keep that in mind.
Like it.
I love it. I have a parting comment. I feel like we're in a big, giant PBL right now, and we're the students.
I would say PBL with a little bit of UDL, all the DLs we can think of.
That's right. It's one big problem project that the world is dealing with.
And a little bit of LOL.
Isn't it a PLC too? How many acronyms can you come up with? That's going to be the next podcast. It's going to be acronym or acronym.
And if you can't LOL, you're going to go crazy. So keep that in mind.
WT, what's going on, right?
Yeah. All right. So, again, if you would like to be a guest on this podcast, you can go to palmdalesd.org/edtech. Somewhere down in the middle of the page, there is a link to fill out a form to be a guest on the podcast. Tell us what you are passionate about, what you want to talk about and share with others to make a positive change.
And remember to keep looking forward. Don't look back. And that'll help you be prepared for whenever we do go face to face.
Keep well, keep sane, try to stay positive. They say the endurance will build us up and give us some strength. Don't let it wear you down. Have a great weekend. Rest of the month. We'll see you back in a couple weeks. Thanks for sharing some time. Ladies, thanks for joining us today.
Thanks for having us.
You still have to wear your mask.
Wash those hands.
Let's hear when the teachers are getting vaccinated.